What if Padmé survived Mustafar? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Padmé hits the platform, gasping for air that won't come. Anakin's force grip crushes her throat. Her vision darkens. The twins inside her kick desperately as her body fights for oxygen it can't get. This is how it ends. Choked by the man she loves. Killed by the father of her children. But then, everything changes. Obi-Wan's hand shoots out. The force explodes between them. Anakin staggers backward. His concentration shattered. Padmé drops like a stone. Air rushing back into her lungs in painful, ragged gasps. She's alive. Barely. And that single moment, that split-second intervention, will reshape the entire galaxy. Because in the original timeline, Padmé died, lost the will to live, gave birth and faded away, broken by Anakin's fall. But not here, not in this timeline. Here, Obi-Wan was just fast enough, just strong enough. And Padmé Amidala survives. The question is, what happens next? The volcanic winds of Mustafar howl across the landing platform, carrying with them the acrid stench of sulfur and ash. Rivers of molten lava snake through the blackened landscape below, casting an orange glow that paints everything in hellish light. This is a world of fire and death, a fitting stage for the tragedy that almost was. Padmé lies on the platform, her hand clutched to her throat, where angry red marks are already forming. Each breath is agony, her windpipe bruised and swollen. But she's breathing, her heart is beating, and inside her, the twins are fighting to survive. Obi-Wan is already moving, his Jedi training, allowing him to cross the distance in heartbeats. He slides to his knees beside Padmé, his hands gentle as he checks her pulse, her breathing. His fingers hover over her throat where bruises are forming, the shape of force-created fingers. Padmé, can you hear me? His voice is steady despite the fear in his eyes. Focus on my voice. Breathe slowly. That's it. She manages a weak nod, each breath still painful but coming easier now. The babies. She reaches for Obi-Wan's hand, squeezes it. Are they? Obi-Wan closes his eyes, reaching out through the force. His expression softens slightly. They're strong. I can feel them. But you need medical attention immediately. Across the platform, Anakin has recovered from Obi-Wan's force push. He stands there, staring at his own hands, as if they belong to someone else. For just a moment, genuine horror crosses his face as he realizes what he almost did, what he did do. But then his eyes harden again, the yellow fire returning, and he points an accusing finger at Obi-Wan. You turned her against me. This is your fault. You're jealous of my power. Obi-Wan rises slowly to his feet, positioning himself between Anakin and Padmé. His hand goes to his lightsaber, but he doesn't draw it. Not yet. There's still a desperate hope in his eyes, a belief that somehow, some way, he can still reach his former apprentice. I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you as a master, as a brother, as a friend. But please, hear me now. This path you're on, it only leads to darkness and death. Palpatine has poisoned your mind with lies. Padmé loves you. She came here to save you. Save me? Anakin laughs, a sound devoid of any real humor. From what? From power. From the ability to protect the people I love. You're the one who's been poisoned, old man. Poisoned by the Jedi's lies about the dark side. The dark side offers only pain and suffering. Whatever Palpatine promised you, whatever power he showed you, it comes at a cost you cannot imagine. I know exactly what it costs, and I'm willing to pay it. To save Padmé. To bring order to the galaxy. To be free of the Jedi's chains. Obi-Wan's hand finally moves to his lightsaber, his fingers wrapping around the familiar hilt. Behind him, he can sense Padmé trying to rise, still weak but driven by desperate love to stand between them. He gently pushes her back with the Force, keeping her safe. Then I have no choice. If you will not turn back from this path, I must stop you. You will try. The words are barely out of Anakin's mouth before his lightsaber ignites. The blue blade he's carried since the Clone Wars began now burning, with an intensity that matches his rage. Obi-Wan's own weapon springs to life in response. The familiar snap hiss, echoing across the volcanic landscape. They stand facing each other, master and apprentice, brother against brother. The air between them crackles with Force energy and years of shared history. Battles fought side by side, victories celebrated together. Quiet moments of understanding that needed no words. All of it about to be torn apart on this hellish world. The duel begins. Anakin attacks first, aggressive and emotional. Obi-Wan defends with practiced precision. Their blades meet in showers of sparks. But this time, there's an added factor. Behind Obi-Wan lies Padmé, pregnant, vulnerable, barely conscious. He's not just fighting to stop his fallen brother. He's fighting to protect two lives that hang in the balance. The battle rages across the facility, exactly as it would have in the original timeline. The same brutal exchanges, the same acrobatic displays. But Obi-Wan fights with even more desperation, always keeping himself between Anakin and Padmé's unconscious form. When they reach the collection arms, when they balance on the narrow structures above the lava, Obi-Wan still holds the high ground. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. You underestimate my power. Don't try it. But Anakin tries anyway. He leaps, and Obi-Wan's blade flashes. Anakin falls, just as he did before. His limbs severed, his body sliding toward the lava bank. Obi-Wan watches, tears streaming down his face, as Anakin's flesh begins to burn. I hate you. The words are torn from Anakin's throat between screams of agony. You were my brother. Anakin, I loved you. Obi-Wan forces himself to turn away, because Padmé needs him. The woman carrying the next generation of hope needs him more than his fallen apprentice needs mercy. He races back through the failing facility to find Padmé still on the landing platform. Captain Typho has emerged from the cruiser and is supporting her, his face pale with shock. We need to leave, now. Obi-Wan shouts over the wailing alarms. The ship lifts off just as massive explosions rock the facility. Through the viewport, Obi-Wan catches one last glimpse of the black sand bank where he left Anakin. It's empty, but there's no time to process that. Padmé is fading. Her life force flickers like a candle in a storm. And inside her, two powerful presences in the Force are fighting desperately to survive. The ship's medical bay springs to life. Droids swarm around Padmé as Obi-Wan sets coordinates for Polis Massa. She needs help, real help, and she needs it now. Senator Amidala, Please remain calm, the lead medical droid says. We are detecting significant trauma to your trachea and severe stress to your cardiovascular system. My babies, Padmé gasps. Save my babies. Scanning fetal vital signs now. The droid pauses. We are detecting 2 distinct heartbeats. You are carrying twins, Senator. 2? Padmé's eyes widen. I'm having twins? Yes. Both fetuses are showing strong life signs at present. However, your stress levels have triggered premature labor. We must prepare for immediate delivery. No, it's too early. They won't survive. Actually, Senator, given their development, they have an excellent chance if delivered under controlled conditions. But we must act quickly. The labor is agonizing. Hours of pain, hours of fear. But Padmé fights through it all, because she's not just fighting for herself anymore. She's fighting for her children, for the future they represent, for the hope they carry. And when she finally hears that first cry, when she sees that tiny squirming infant held up by the medical droid, every second of pain is worth it. It's a boy, Luke. His name is Luke. Minutes later, a second cry joins the first. And a girl, Leia. Her name is Leia. Padmé holds her children, tears streaming down her face. They're alive. She's alive. And everything, absolutely everything, has changed. Because in the original timeline, this is where Padmé gave up, where she lost the will to live, where she faded away, leaving Luke and Leia orphaned and separated. But not anymore. Now, she's going to fight for them, for their future, for the galaxy they deserve. The question is, how will one mother's survival reshape the fate of the entire galaxy? Obi-Wan contacts Yoda, his hologram flickering to life. Master Yoda, the situation has changed. Senator Amidala survived. She has given birth to twins. Yoda's eyes widen. Survived? Impossible, the Emperor's foresight showed. The Force works in mysterious ways. Master, Padmé is weak but alive, and the children are healthy and strong. A sign this may be, but great danger this brings. Know of the children. Palpatine must not. I agree. We plan to separate them, but Master, Padmé is their mother. She has a right. No. Yoda's voice is firm. Separated. The children must be. Too dangerous together they are. But it's Padmé's voice, weak but determined, that cuts through. No, I won't give them up. I won't let them grow up, not knowing their mother, not knowing each other. I've lost Anakin. I will not lose my children too. Obi-Wan looks at the woman who once ruled a planet, who fought for peace in the Senate, who loved Anakin despite everything. And he sees in her eyes a determination that will not be swayed. Master Yoda, what if we hide all 3 of them together? Yoda closes his eyes, reaching out through the Force. Finally, he speaks. Sense something. I do. The twins, stronger together they are. A bond between them, rare and powerful. Risky, this is. But perhaps the will of the Force, it is. And so the plan is set. Padmé will fake her death. The twins will remain, with their mother, and together they'll hide on Naboo, waiting for the day when they're strong enough to challenge the darkness that consumed their father. This is the story of how one moment changed everything. How a mother's survival gave the galaxy a second chance. How two twins, raised together instead of apart, will bring balance to the Force in ways no one could have predicted. This is the story of what happens when Padmé Amidala survives Mustafar. The volcanic winds of Mustafar howl across the landing platform, carrying with them the acrid stench of sulfur and ash. Rivers of molten lava snake through the blackened landscape below, casting an orange glow that paints everything in hellish light. This is a world of fire and death, a fitting stage for the tragedy about to unfold. Padmé Amidala steps off her chrome-plated Naboo cruiser, her pregnancy now visible beneath the flowing layers of her burgundy gown. Each step toward the man waiting for her feels heavier than the last, as if the weight of the galaxy itself presses down upon her shoulders. She can see him standing at the edge of the platform, a dark silhouette against the volcanic fury behind him. Anakin, her husband, the father of the children growing inside her, the man she loved more than life itself. But even from this distance, she can sense something terribly wrong. The Force, which she's become slightly sensitive to after years with the Jedi, whispers warnings that make her heart race with dread. His cloak billows in the superheated wind, and when he turns to face her, Padmé's breath catches in her throat. His eyes, those beautiful blue eyes that once looked at her with such love and warmth, now burn with an unnatural yellow fire. The corruption of the dark side has already begun its terrible work, staining his soul, twisting the good man she knew into something she barely recognizes. "Anakin," she calls out, her voice nearly lost in the roar of the volcanic winds. Her hand instinctively goes to her stomach, protecting the precious lives within. "I was so worried about you. Obi-Wan told me terrible things. Tell me they aren't true." He strides toward her with predatory grace. And, for a moment, hope flickers in Padmé's heart. Maybe this is all a mistake. Maybe the man she loves is still in there, untouched by whatever darkness Obi-Wan spoke of. But when he speaks, his voice carries an edge she's never heard before. Sharp and cruel. "What things? That I killed the younglings? That I slaughtered everyone in the Jedi Temple? Oh, Padmé, those things are very true. And I did it for us, for you, for our child." The words hit her like physical blows. Images flash through her mind, unbidden and horrific. Small bodies in the temple halls, their training sabers still clutched in tiny hands. Masters she knew, friends she'd made during the war, all cut down by Anakin, by the man she married in secret on Naboo all those years ago. "No," she whispers, shaking her head, tears already forming. "You couldn't have. The Anakin I know would never hurt innocent children. The Anakin you knew was weak. He was a slave to the Jedi, to their dogma, to their rules that kept us apart. But I'm free now, Padmé. Free to use my full power. Free to save you from death." His words make no sense. Death? What death? But then she remembers his nightmares, the visions that plagued him for weeks, dreams of her dying in childbirth, screaming his name. She tried to comfort him, to tell him it was just his fear speaking. But he wouldn't listen. He became obsessed with finding a way to prevent her death, spending hours in the archives, consulting with Palpatine. Palpatine, the name, sends ice through her veins. The Chancellor, with his grandfatherly smile and political cunning. Obi-Wan said he was a Sith Lord, that he'd manipulated the entire war, that he'd manipulated Anakin. "What has Palpatine done to you?" she asks, taking a cautious step closer. "Anakin, whatever he promised you, whatever he said, it's a lie. The Sith only know deception. He knows the truth." Anakin's voice rises, passionate and desperate. "He knows the power to save you. The Jedi, they're the liars. Padmé, they wanted to control me, to use me, but they never trusted me, never gave me what I deserved. But my master, he sees my worth. He's teaching me to be strong enough to save you." "Your master?" Padmé's heart breaks with every word. "Oh, Anakin, what have you done?" "I've done what I had to do. And now we can be together, really together, without hiding, without shame. I can overthrow Palpatine once I'm strong enough, and you and I can rule the galaxy. We can make things the way we want them to be. Safe, secure, no more war, no more death." She wants to reach him, to shake him, to make him see what he's become. This isn't strength. This is slavery, to fear, to the dark side. But before she can find the words, movement catches her eye. A figure emerges from her ship, stepping down the ramp with measured, sorrowful steps. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin's master, his brother in all but blood. The man who trained him, fought beside him, loved him like family. His brown robes are dusty from travel, his beard showing the first hints of gray. The expression on his face is one of pure heartbreak. Anakin sees him, and everything changes in an instant. The last vestiges of the man Padmé loved vanish, consumed by rage and betrayal so intense it seems to darken the air around him. His hand goes to his lightsaber, and his face contorts with fury. "You? You brought him here to kill me?" "No." Padmé steps between them, desperate to stop what's about to happen. "Anakin, I didn't know he was on my ship. I came alone to bring you back, to help you." "Liar." The word is a snarl, filled with such venom that Padmé recoils. "You're with them. You're all against me. The Jedi, the Senate, everyone. You're all trying to destroy me." "Anakin, please," she begs, tears streaming freely now. "I love you. I would never betray you." But his hand is already rising. Fingers spread in a gesture she's seen him use countless times to move objects with the Force. Except this time, those fingers are aimed at her throat. She sees the hatred in his eyes, the madness, and knows with terrible certainty that he's about to do something unforgivable. The invisible grip closes around her windpipe like bands of steel. Padmé's hands fly to her neck, clawing desperately at nothing, trying to pry away fingers that aren't physically there. Her mouth opens in a silent scream as her airway constricts. The world begins to tilt and blur, black spots dancing at the edges of her vision. She can't breathe, can't think, can't understand how the man who held her so tenderly mere weeks ago can now be crushing the life from her body. Their children, the twins she hasn't told him about yet, kick frantically inside her as her body struggles for oxygen they desperately need. Through the haze of oxygen deprivation, she sees Obi-Wan's face, horror-struck and desperate. His hand shoots out, and she feels a surge in the Force, a push of raw power. Suddenly, Anakin staggers backward, his concentration broken, and Padmé drops like a puppet with cut strings. She hits the platform hard, gasping and choking, each breath a painful rasp. Her vision swims as her lungs desperately pull in air. She can taste blood in her mouth where she bit her tongue. Her hands clutch her stomach protectively, checking, praying that the babies are okay. Obi-Wan is already moving, his Jedi training allowing him to cross the distance in heartbeats. He slides to his knees beside Padmé, his hands gentle as he checks her pulse, her breathing. His fingers hover over her throat, where angry red marks are already forming, bruises in the shape of Force-created fingers. "Padmé, can you hear me?" His voice is steady, despite the fear in his eyes. "Focus on my voice. Breathe slowly. That's it." She manages a weak nod, each breath still painful but coming easier now. The babies. She reaches for Obi-Wan's hand, squeezes it. "Are they?" Obi-Wan closes his eyes, reaching out through the Force. His expression softens slightly. "They're strong. I can feel them. But you need medical attention immediately." Across the platform, Anakin has recovered from Obi-Wan's Force push. He stands there, staring at his own hands, as if they belong to someone else. For just a moment, genuine horror crosses his face as he realizes what he almost did. What he did do, but then his eyes harden again, the yellow fire returning, and he points an accusing finger at Obi-Wan. "You turned her against me. This is your fault. You're jealous of my power." Obi-Wan rises slowly to his feet, positioning himself between Anakin and Padmé. His hand goes to his lightsaber, but he doesn't draw it. Not yet. There's still a desperate hope in his eyes, a belief that somehow, some way, he can still reach his former apprentice. "I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you as a master, as a brother, as a friend. But please, hear me now. This path you're on, it only leads to darkness and death. Palpatine has poisoned your mind with lies. Padmé loves you. She came here to save you." "Save me?" Anakin laughs, a sound devoid of any real humor. "From what? From power? From the ability to protect the people I love? You're the one who's been poisoned, old man. Poisoned by the Jedi's lies about the dark side. The dark side offers only pain and suffering. Whatever Palpatine promised you, whatever power he showed you, it comes at a cost you cannot imagine. I know exactly what it costs, and I'm willing to pay it, to save Padmé, to bring order to the galaxy, to be free of the Jedi's chains." Obi-Wan's hand finally moves to his lightsaber, his fingers wrapping around the familiar hilt. Behind him, he can sense Padmé trying to rise, still weak, but driven by desperate love to stand between them. He gently pushes her back with the Force, keeping her safe. "Then I have no choice. If you will not turn back from this path, I must stop you. You will try." The words are barely out of Anakin's mouth before his lightsaber ignites. The blue blade he's carried since the Clone Wars began now burning with an intensity that matches his rage. Obi-Wan's own weapon springs to life in response. the familiar snap hiss echoing across the volcanic landscape. They stand facing each other, master and apprentice, brother against brother. The air between them crackles with force energy and years of shared history. Battles fought side by side, victories celebrated together, quiet moments of understanding that needed no words. All of it about to be torn apart on this hellish world. Anakin attacks first, an aggressive lunge that speaks to his raw power and emotional fighting style. Obi-Wan deflects smoothly, his defensive form as practiced as breathing. Their blades meet with a shower of sparks, and the duel begins. But this time, Obi-Wan fights with even more desperation than he would have. Because now, there's an added factor. Behind him, barely conscious but very much alive, lies Padmé, pregnant, vulnerable. He can't just duel Anakin, he has to protect her. Every parry, every defensive stance is calculated to keep his body between the fallen Jedi and the woman he's trying to save. They move across the platform with deadly grace, their lightsabers weaving patterns of light in the sulphurous air. Anakin's strikes are powerful, fueled by his anger and his newfound strength in the dark side. Each blow carries enough force to shatter stone, and Obi-Wan feels the impact through his arms as he blocks and deflects. "You were my brother, Anakin." Obi-Wan's voice cracks with emotion as their blades lock, bringing them face to face. "I loved you. Then, you're a fool." Anakin shoves him back with a burst of force energy. Love is a weakness the Jedi taught us to fear, but I know better now. Love can give you strength if you're willing to do anything to protect what you love. Not anything, not this. Look what you've become. They break apart and circle each other, both breathing hard from the intensity of their combat. Behind them, Padmé has managed to prop herself up against a support strut, watching with tear-filled eyes as the two men she cares about most try to kill each other. The fight continues, moving from the landing platform into the collection facility. The industrial complex is a maze of catwalks, control rooms, and massive machinery designed to harvest the volcanic planet's resources. Sparks fly not just from their lightsabers, but from equipment damaged in their wake. Anakin leaps from platform to platform with inhuman agility, the Force enhancing his already impressive acrobatic skills. Obi-Wan follows, always staying between Anakin and the direction of Padmé, always defensive, always trying to wear down his opponent rather than deliver a killing blow. They crash through a control room, their duel sending terminals exploding and systems failing. Alarms begin to wail throughout the facility as critical systems go offline. The collection arms outside begin to malfunction, swinging wildly, causing chain reactions in the delicate balance of the lava harvesting operation. "Why won't you just die?" Anakin snarls, pressing his attack with renewed fury. His fighting is becoming more erratic, less controlled. The dark side is consuming him, feeding on his anger, his fear, his pain, every emotion he's suppressed for years, as a Jedi now pours out in a torrent of destructive energy. "Because I'm fighting for something greater than myself," Obi-Wan replies, his calm in stark contrast to Anakin's chaos. "I'm fighting for the man you were, the man you can still be. That man is dead. I killed him." The battle rages through the facility until they reach the collection arms themselves, massive mechanical structures that extend out over the lava flows. The heat here is nearly unbearable, even for Jedi. The metal beneath their feet radiates warmth that would cook an ordinary person alive. They balance on a narrow collection arm, the structure swaying and creaking under the stress of their combat. Below them, a river of molten rock flows with hypnotic slowness, promising instant death to anyone who falls. The air itself seems to burn, making each breath feel like inhaling fire. Obi-Wan sees his opening. As Anakin overextends on a particularly aggressive strike, he makes his move. With a graceful leap, he gains the high ground, landing on a more elevated part of the collection arm structure. He stands above Anakin, his lightsaber held in a defensive position, and speaks words he knows will echo through history. "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground." Anakin looks up at him, and for a moment, Obi-Wan sees calculation in those yellow eyes. His former apprentice is weighing his options, considering the tactical disadvantage. But then pride and rage override wisdom, and Obi-Wan knows what's about to happen. "You underestimate my power. Don't try it." But Anakin has already committed. He gathers the Force around himself like a cloak and leaps, his lightsaber held high, arcing through the air in a move that would be spectacular if it weren't so tragic. Obi-Wan has seen this move before. He's seen Anakin practice it 1,000 times in the training halls of the Jedi Temple. He knows exactly how to counter it. His blade moves with practiced precision, not a slash of anger, but a stroke of sorrowful necessity. The blue plasma cuts through flesh and bone and cybernetic limb alike. Anakin's scream fills the air as he tumbles past Obi-Wan, his body now missing its legs and one arm, landing on the black sandbank at the edge of the lava river. Obi-Wan deactivates his lightsaber and stands frozen, unable to look away from what he's done. Below him, Anakin writhes in agony, his body sliding inexorably toward the lava. The heat begins its terrible work, and Anakin's screams intensify as his flesh starts to burn and blister. "I hate you." The words are torn from Anakin's throat between screams of agony. Tears stream down Obi-Wan's face, evaporating almost instantly in the volcanic heat. "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you." He forces himself to turn away, to leave Anakin to his fate, because Padmé needs him. The woman carrying the next generation of hope needs him. Every instinct screams at him to end Anakin's suffering, to deliver a merciful final blow, but he can't. Despite everything, despite the younglings and the temple and the attempt on Padmé's life, Obi-Wan Kenobi cannot bring himself to kill his brother. He races back through the failing facility, guided by his connection to Padmé in the Force. She's still on the landing platform, having crawled back to her ship through sheer force of will. Captain Typho, her loyal bodyguard, has emerged from the cruiser and is supporting her, his face pale with shock at her condition. "We need to leave, now!" Obi-Wan shouts over the wailing alarms and the sound of the facility tearing itself apart. Typho doesn't need to be told twice. He helps Padmé up the ramp, while Obi-Wan takes the pilot's seat. The engines roar to life, and they lift off just as a massive explosion rocks the collection facility. Through the viewport, Obi-Wan catches one last glimpse of the black sandbank where he left Anakin. It's empty. He doesn't have time to process what that means. Padmé needs medical attention immediately. He can sense her fading, her life force flickering like a candle in a storm. The twins inside her are strong, fighting to survive, but without help, they'll all die. The ship's medical bay is state-of-the-art, befitting a senator of Padmé's standing. The moment they're in hyperspace, heading away from Mustafar toward the nearest safe system, Obi-Wan activates the medical droids. 3 of them swarm around Padmé, their optical sensors scanning her from head to toe, their manipulator arms extending diagnostic tools. Senator Amidala, please try to remain calm, the lead medical droid says in its synthetic voice. We are detecting significant trauma to your trachea and severe stress to your cardiovascular system. My babies, Padmé gasps, each word still painful. Save my babies. Scanning fetal vital signs now. The droid is silent for a moment as its sensors do their work. We are detecting 2 distinct heartbeats. You are carrying twins, Senator. 2? Padmé's eyes widen despite her pain. I'm having twins? Yes. Both fetuses are showing strong life signs at present. However, Senator, your stress levels have triggered premature labor. We must prepare for immediate delivery. No. Padmé tries to sit up, but the droid gently restrains her. It's too early. They won't survive. Actually, Senator, given the development we're seeing, they have an excellent chance of survival if delivered under controlled conditions. But we must act quickly. Obi-Wan takes Padmé's hand, offering what comfort he can through the Force. He reaches out to the twins, feeling their presence. They're strong, incredibly strong, for beings not yet born. Their connection to the Force blazes like twin stars, and he realizes with awe that these children will be among the most powerful Jedi ever born. Captain Typho, set course for Polis Massa, Obi-Wan orders. The medical facilities there are the best in this sector, and it's far from Imperial eyes. The labor is agonizing. Despite the medical droid's best efforts and the pain medication they administer, Padmé's weakened state makes every contraction feel like it might tear her apart. Her screams echo through the medical bay, and Obi-Wan holds her hand through it all, pouring calming Force energy into her, helping her find the strength to endure. Hours pass. Padmé drifts in and out of consciousness, her body working on pure instinct now. The droids work efficiently, their mechanical precision a stark contrast to the raw, primal act of birth. Obi-Wan stays by her side, offering encouragement, wiping sweat from her brow, being the anchor she needs. One more push, Senator. We can see the head. Padmé gathers what strength remains and pushes with everything she has. A sharp cry fills the air, high-pitched and indignant, and the lead medical droid holds up a tiny, squirming infant. It's a boy. Tears stream down Padmé's face, mixing with sweat. Through her exhaustion, she manages to smile. Luke. His name is Luke. The droid passes the baby to an assistant for cleaning and immediately turns its attention back to Padmé. We must continue, Senator. The second child is ready. The process repeats, though Padmé has even less strength now. But when she hears that first cry turn into 2, when she sees the second baby held up, she finds reserves of strength she didn't know she possessed, and a girl, Leia. Her name is Leia. Finally, it's over. The droids work to deliver the placentas and ensure Padmé's bleeding is under control, while the assistant droids clean and swaddle the twins. When they're finally placed in Padmé's arms, she looks down at them with a love so pure and fierce it seems to fill the entire medical bay. Luke has his father's features, she can already tell. The same strong jawline, the same shape to his eyes. Leia is different, more delicate, with Padmé's own facial structure. But both of them have their father's connection to the Force. Obi-Wan can sense it radiating from them like heat from Mustafar's lava flows. "Hello, my darlings," Padmé whispers, her voice hoarse from screaming but filled with joy. "I'm your mother, and I promise you, I will never let anything hurt you. Never, never." Obi-Wan activates his comlink, sending an encrypted message to Yoda on Dagobah, where the Jedi Master has gone into hiding. The ancient Master's hologram flickers to life, his expression grave as always. "Master Yoda, the situation has changed. Senator Amidala survived. She has given birth to twins." Yoda's eyes widen, his ears perking up. "Survived? Impossible!" The Emperor's foresight showed. "The Force works in mysterious ways, Master. Padmé is weak but alive, and the children are healthy and strong. A sign this may be. The prophecy, fulfilled in a way we did not foresee. But great danger this brings. Know of the children. Palpatine must not." "I agree. We planned to separate them, to hide them on different worlds. But Master, Padmé is their mother. She has a right." "No." Yoda's voice is firm, brooking no argument. "Separated, the children must be. Too dangerous, together they are. The dark side, feel their power it would." But it's Padmé's voice, weak but determined, that cuts through the discussion. "No, I won't give them up. I won't let them grow up, not knowing their mother, not knowing each other." "Senator, you must understand," Obi-Wan begins, but Padmé cuts him off. "No, you understand. I have lost Anakin. I watched him fall to darkness, felt his hands around my throat, saw him become a monster. I will not lose my children too. Find another way." Obi-Wan looks at the woman he's known for years, the senator who fought for peace, the queen who saved her planet, the wife who loved Anakin despite everything. And he sees in her eyes a determination that will not be swayed. "Master Yoda, what if we hide all three of them? Together, Padmé has resources, connections that even the Empire would struggle to penetrate. She was a queen. She knows how to disappear." Yoda closes his eyes, reaching out through the Force. Obi-Wan can sense him examining the situation from every angle, feeling the currents of the future, the possibilities branching out in infinite directions. Finally, the ancient master opens his eyes. "Sense something?" "I do. The twins. Stronger together they are. A bond between them, rare and powerful. Separate them, weaken them it might. Risky, this is. But perhaps the will of the Force. It is." Padmé clutches her babies tighter. "Thank you, Master Yoda. Careful. You must be. Completely hidden. You must remain. Your death, stage. We must. The Empire, believe you. Dead, they must. I understand. I'll go to Naboo. I have family there. People I trust. With my life, we'll create a new identity. Something that won't draw attention. Watch over them." "I will," Obi-Wan says, "from a distance, to avoid suspicion. But I'll be there if you need me." The plan takes shape quickly. Padmé's funeral is held within days, a grand state affair on Naboo. Her body or what appears to be her body, lies in an ornate casket, dressed in the style of a Naboo queen. Thousands line the streets of Theed to pay their respects, many weeping openly for the woman who represented hope in the galaxy's darkest hour. Emperor Palpatine himself sends a message of condolence, his hologram appearing at the funeral to speak of Padmé's service to democracy. Obi-Wan, watching from hiding, sees the cruel satisfaction in the Sith Lord's eyes and knows that Palpatine believes his manipulation complete. Anakin lost, the Jedi destroyed, and now Padmé dead. All threats neutralized, but the Emperor doesn't know that far from Theed. In a remote house on the shores of one of Naboo's countless lakes, the real Padmé is settling into a new life. She's taken her maiden name again, Padmé Naberi, a young widow with twin infants, grieving a husband lost in the Clone Wars. No one recognizes the former queen and senator. She's lost weight from the trauma of Mustafar and childbirth, her face gaunt and aged beyond her years. She wears simple clothes, lets her hair fall naturally instead of in elaborate styles. She's just another refugee of war, seeking peace in Naboo's countryside. Her family helps maintain the deception. Her sister Sola and her nieces visit often, providing both cover and genuine support. They know the truth, of course. How could they not when they help Padmé care for two impossibly Force-sensitive babies? But they guard the secret as fiercely as Padmé herself. The twins grow quickly, as all children do. Luke is a happy baby, quick to smile and laugh, content to watch the world with curious blue eyes. Leia is more serious, more demanding, making her needs known with imperious cries that remind everyone of Padmé in her days as queen. Even as infants, their Force bond is evident. When one cries, the other wakes. When one is content, the other relaxes. They're two halves of a whole, incomplete without each other. Obi-Wan visits when he can, making the journey from his exile on Tatooine, where he watches over Owen and Beru Lars. He'd wanted to leave Luke there, to give him a normal life. But Padmé's refusal changed everything. Now both twins grow up with their mother, knowing her love, her wisdom, her strength. The first year passes in relative peace. Padmé heals slowly from the trauma of Mustafar, though the bruises on her throat leave faint scars that never quite fade. She often traces them absently when she thinks no one is watching, remembering the feel of Anakin's Force grip, the terror of suffocation. The nightmares come frequently at first. Dreams of yellow eyes and burning flesh, of screams echoing across volcanic landscapes. But slowly, with time and the love of her children, she heals. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Darth Vader awakens in his new prison of armor and life support systems. The last thing he remembers is burning, the agony of his flesh, melting, and then darkness. Now he lives in eternal pain, every breath a reminder of his failure, every heartbeat regulated by machines. Where is Padmé? His first words through the vocabulator are distorted, mechanical, but the desperation in them is heartbreakingly human. Is she safe? Is she all right? Palpatine stands beside his new apprentice's medical table, his satisfaction carefully hidden behind a mask of sorrow. It seems, in your anger, you killed her. The denial comes immediately, instinctive. No, I couldn't have. I stopped. Obi-Wan saved himself. But your wife, I'm afraid, did not survive the injuries you inflicted. She died. Lord Vader. She and your child died with her. The scream that tears from Vader's throat is raw and primal, a sound of such pure anguish that it transcends the mechanical filters of his breathing apparatus. The medical facility around him begins to shake as his grief and rage explode outward through the Force. Equipment shatters, windows crack, and even Palpatine takes a step back from the sheer magnitude of power his new apprentice wields. For Vader, this is the moment of his final death. Anakin Skywalker, who loved Padmé more than life, who turned to the dark side to save her, has killed her with his own hands. The irony is not lost on him. Everything he did, every sin he committed, was to prevent her death. And in the end, he became the instrument of it. But there's something else. A nagging feeling at the edge of his consciousness. A whisper in the Force that something isn't right. He reaches out, searching for any trace of Padmé's presence, and finds nothing. Which should be conclusive, except it's the wrong kind of nothing. Not the void of death, but the absence of presence, as if she's been erased from the Force entirely. He buries the thought deep. His master has no reason to lie. Padmé is dead. His child is dead. He killed them. This is his reality now. This is his punishment. He will live in this armor, in this pain, for the rest of his days, forever reminded of his failure. The years begin to pass. On Naboo, Luke and Leia grow from infants to toddlers to young children. Padmé watches them develop their unique personalities, with a mixture of joy and bittersweet sorrow. They're so much like Anakin, each in their own way. And every reminder is both a gift and a knife to her heart. Luke is gentle and compassionate, always trying to help, even when he's too small to really assist. He cries when he sees animals in pain, tries to share his toys with other children, even when they don't want them. His connection to the Force manifests early. By age 3, he's accidentally moving objects when he's upset, making his toys float when he concentrates. Leia is fierce and determined, with a natural gift for leadership that emerges even in childhood games. She organizes the other children when they play, making up elaborate scenarios and assigning everyone roles. She's also fiercely protective of her brother, getting into fights with children twice her size if they're mean to Luke. Her Force sensitivity shows differently, manifesting as an uncanny ability to sense people's emotions and intentions. Padmé tells them stories every night, tales of their father carefully edited to present him as a hero. She speaks of Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi Knight, the greatest pilot in the galaxy, the man who saved planets and freed slaves. She shows them hollows of happier times, of her and Anakin on Naboo, of his bright smile and kind eyes, before the darkness claimed him. She doesn't tell them about Darth Vader. Not yet. They're too young to understand, too innocent to bear that burden. Let them have a few more years of childhood, of believing their father was a hero who died tragically in the war. The truth can wait. Obi-Wan's visits become regular events the twins look forward to. Uncle Ben, they call him, not knowing his true identity as a legendary Jedi Master. He brings them gifts from his travels, tells them stories about the Clone Wars, and begins teaching them the basics of the Force. Feel the life around you, he instructs. Sitting cross-legged in Padmé's garden, with 4-year-old Luke and Leia mirroring his position. Everything is connected through the Force. The grass, the trees, the birds, even the insects. All of it is part of one great tapestry. "I can feel it," Luke exclaims, his face scrunched up in concentration. It's like everything is singing." Leia is more focused, her eyes closed, her breathing controlled. It feels warm, like being hugged by everyone and everything at once. Obi-Wan smiles, seeing so much potential in these children. Luke has his father's raw power and instinctive connection to the living Force. Leia has a different kind of strength, more disciplined, with an empathic ability that's rare even among Jedi. Together, they're going to be formidable. As they grow older, the training becomes more structured. Obi-Wan teaches them lightsaber forms, starting with the basic Shicho and gradually introducing more advanced techniques. Luke gravitates toward Form V, the same aggressive style his father preferred. Leia prefers Form 3, the patient defensive style that frustrates opponents and waits for the perfect opening. They train together constantly, their twin bond allowing them to anticipate each other's moves with uncanny accuracy. When they spar, it's like watching a carefully choreographed dance, each movement flowing into the next with perfect synchronization. Obi-Wan has trained many Jedi in his long career, but he's never seen anything quite like the connection these two share. By age 7, they're already more skilled than many Padawans twice their age. But Padmé ensures their education extends beyond the Force. She teaches them politics, diplomacy, history, and ethics. She wants them to understand not just power, but responsibility. Not just strength, but compassion. She's determined that they won't make their father's mistakes. Remember, she tells them one evening as they sit on the terrace overlooking the lake, "Power without wisdom is dangerous. Your father was one of the most powerful Jedi who ever lived, but he made terrible choices because he let fear guide him instead of reason." "What was he afraid of?" Leia asks. Always the more direct of the twins. Padmé hesitates, choosing her words carefully. He was afraid of losing the people he loved, and that fear made him vulnerable to those who would manipulate him. "But fear is natural, isn't it?" Luke says, his young face troubled. Uncle Ben says, "We shouldn't fear. But how can we not be afraid sometimes?" "Fear itself isn't wrong, sweetheart. It's what you do with that fear that matters. You can let it control you, make you act rashly, or you can acknowledge it and choose to act courageously despite it. Your father forgot that lesson, and it cost him everything." The twins absorb this, processing it with the seriousness of children who sense there's more to the story than they're being told. But they don't push. Not yet. They trust their mother to tell them what they need to know when the time is right. On Coruscant, in the Imperial Palace, Darth Vader stands before massive windows overlooking the endless cityscape. His breathing apparatus provides its rhythmic accompaniment to his thoughts. The mechanical sound that has become synonymous with fear across the galaxy. But inside the armor, there's a man struggling with something he can't name. It's been 7 years since Mustafar. 7 years since he lost Padmé and his child. 7 years of serving his master, hunting down the remaining Jedi, enforcing the Empire's will across the galaxy. He's become everything the Emperor wanted. A weapon of terror wrapped in black armor. The Dark Lord, who brings planets to heel with a gesture. But lately, something has been bothering him. A feeling in the Force, like a half-remembered melody or a scent that triggers buried memories. It reminds him of Padmé, of the love they shared, and it drives him to distraction. Your thoughts betray you, Lord Vader. Palpatine's voice cuts through his reverie, sharp and knowing. Vader turns from the window to face his master. I sense a disturbance in the Force, my master. A presence I cannot identify. The remnants of the Jedi? No doubt. They scatter like insects, hiding in the shadows. But we will root them all out in time. This is different. It's not the signature of a Jedi in hiding. It's something else, something familiar. Palpatine's eyes narrow, and Vader can sense his master reaching out through the Force, searching for whatever has caught his apprentice's attention. For a moment, genuine curiosity crosses the Emperor's wizened features, but then he waves dismissively. Your mind plays tricks on you, old friend. The loss of your wife still haunts you, even after all these years. This presence you sense is merely an echo of your past, nothing more. Vader wants to believe him. It would be easier to accept that explanation than to follow the thread of this mystery. But the feeling doesn't go away. It persists, growing stronger at times, fading at others, but never quite disappearing. Like a beacon calling to him across the stars, he buries the thought, as he's learned to bury all thoughts that don't serve his master's purpose. There's work to be done, rebels to crush, systems to bring in line, the Emperor's vision of order to enforce. Personal concerns have no place in the life of a Sith Lord. But on Naboo, as Luke and Leia celebrate their 8th birthday with a small party attended by family and a few carefully vetted friends, Padmé feels a chill run down her spine. She touches the scars on her throat absently and looks up at the stars, wondering if somewhere out there, Anakin is thinking of her too. The twins are growing up too fast. At 8, they're asking harder questions, pushing boundaries, testing the limits of what their mother will tell them. And on this particular evening, after the guests have left and the sun is setting over the lake in brilliant oranges and purples, Leia decides she's done waiting for answers. Mom, we need to talk about our father. Padmé's heart skips a beat. She's known this conversation was coming, has rehearsed it in her mind countless times. But now that the moment is here, she feels entirely unprepared. What do you want to know? The truth. Leia's voice is firm, her posture straight and regal, in a way that reminds Padmé of herself at that age. Not stories, not legends. The real truth about who he was and what happened to him. Luke sits beside his sister, his expression gentler but equally determined. Please, Mom, we can feel something's wrong. You get sad when you talk about him, and sometimes Uncle Ben does too. There's something you're not telling us. Padmé looks at her children, these remarkable young people who've grown so strong and wise. They deserve the truth, all of it. They're old enough now to understand, old enough to handle the weight of their heritage. She takes a deep breath and begins to speak. The next hour is one of the hardest of Padmé's life. She tells them everything about Anakin's fall to the dark side, about the slaughter at the Jedi Temple, about his transformation into Darth Vader. She tells them about Mustafar, about the confrontation, about feeling his hands around her throat through the Force. She watches their faces as the story unfolds, sees shock and denial, and pain wash across their young features. When she's finished, the silence is deafening. Luke's face has gone pale, his hands trembling in his lap. Leia's jaw is set, her eyes blazing with an anger that's frighteningly familiar to Padmé, who's seen that same expression on Anakin's face. So our father is Darth Vader. Luke's voice is barely a whisper, as if saying it louder might make it more real. The Emperor's enforcer, the Jedi hunter, the monster. He wasn't always a monster, Padmé says quickly. The man I fell in love with, your father Anakin Skywalker, was a hero. He was kind and brave, and had the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. The dark side corrupted him, twisted him into something he was never meant to be. Leia stands abruptly, her fists clenched at her sides. How can you defend him after what he did to you, to the Jedi, to the entire galaxy? Because I knew him before. I saw what he could have been. And because despite everything, I have to believe that somewhere inside that armor, Anakin Skywalker still exists. That's naive. Leia's voice rises, passion and fury pouring out of her. He's had years to turn back, to reject the dark side, to make things right. But he hasn't. He's helped the Emperor destroy everything good in the galaxy. Leia, please. No. I don't want to hear about the good man he used to be. I care about what he is now. A murderer. A tyrant's lapdog. The enemy of everything we should stand for. Luke has been quiet through his sister's outburst. But now he speaks. His voice thoughtful despite the turmoil Padmé can sense in him through their bond. But Mom said the dark side corrupted him. Doesn't that mean he was manipulated? That he's as much a victim as anyone else? A victim? Leia whirls on her brother. Luke. He killed children. He helped establish a fascist empire. At some point, being manipulated stops being an excuse. Padmé raises her hands, trying to calm the situation. Both of you, please. I'm not asking you to forgive him. I'm not even asking you to understand him. I'm just asking you to remember that people are complicated. Your father made terrible choices, but those choices were born from fear and pain, not from inherent evil. You love him. Even now. Leia's voice carries accusation and disbelief in equal measure. How can you still love him after everything? Padmé's eyes fill with tears. Because love isn't something you can just turn off, sweetheart. I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. But when I close my eyes, I still see the man who freed the slaves on Tatooine, who risked everything to save my planet, who held me under the stars on our wedding night and promised to love me forever. That man is worth loving. Even if the Empire has buried him under so much darkness, I may never find him again. The twins process this in their own ways. Luke sits in troubled silence, his brow furrowed as he works through the implications. Leia paces, her agitation clear in every movement. Padmé watches them both, her heart breaking for the innocence they've just lost. Finally, Luke speaks. What do we do now? I mean, we know who our father is. We know what he's done. Does that change anything? It changes everything, Leia says immediately. We have to fight him. We have to stop the Empire, stop Vader, make things right. We're 8 years old, Luke points out. What exactly are we going to do? Train, prepare, and when we're ready, take him down. Padmé steps between them, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. You're not going to do anything right now, except continue your training and your education. When you're older, when you're ready, then you can decide what role you want to play in the galaxy's future. But right now, you're my children, and my job is to keep you safe. Safe from our own father, Leia says bitterly. Yes, if necessary. That night, Padmé lies awake, listening to the sounds of the lake house. She can hear Luke tossing and turning in his room, troubled by nightmares. Leia's room is silent, but Padmé knows her daughter well enough to know she's awake too, probably planning and plotting with that strategic mind of hers. Padmé reaches out through the Force, something she's gotten better at over the years thanks to Obi-Wan's patient instruction. She touches Luke's troubled mind, sending waves of calm and love. She does the same for Leia, though her daughter's thoughts are harder to soothe, more turbulent, and resistant to comfort. And then, on an impulse she can't quite explain, Padmé reaches further, out beyond Naboo, beyond the local sector, stretching across the vast distances of space toward the dark presence she's felt for years. Toward Coruscant. Toward him. For just a moment, impossibly brief, she feels him. Anakin, or what remains of him, inside Vader. The connection is tenuous, like touching cobwebs in the dark, but it's there. And in that instant, she feels his confusion, his pain, his buried longing for something he can't name. Then the moment passes, and Padmé is alone in her bed again, tears streaming down her face. The next few years are difficult ones for the family. The twins react to the revelation about their father in drastically different ways, and those differences create tension between them for the first time in their lives. Luke becomes introspective, spending hours in meditation trying to understand his father's fall. He reads everything he can about the dark side, about manipulation and corruption, about the psychology of fear. He's determined to understand how a good man can become a monster, because he fears that same potential might exist in himself. Uncle Ben, he asks one day during a training session, how do I know I won't turn out like my father? Obi-Wan sets down his training saber and looks at the boy seriously. The fact that you're asking that question is itself a good sign, Luke. Your father never questioned himself, never examined his own motivations. He was so sure of his righteousness that he couldn't see when he was being led astray. But I'm his son. I have his power, his connection to the Force. What if I have his weakness too? We all have the capacity for darkness. Luke, what matters is what we choose to do with it. Your father chose to give in to his fear, to embrace the dark side's promise of power. You can choose differently. How? By staying connected to the people who love you, by questioning your own certainty, by remembering that strength comes not from power, but from compassion and wisdom. Luke takes this to heart, becoming almost obsessive about monitoring his own emotions and motivations. He's terrified of anger, of fear, of any emotion that might lead him down his father's path. It makes him cautious, sometimes overly so, but it also makes him thoughtful and empathetic. Leia takes the opposite approach. She channels her anger and her sense of betrayal into determination. She throws herself into her training with renewed intensity, pushing herself harder than ever before. She's going to be strong enough to stop Vader, powerful enough to protect the people he'd hurt, skilled enough to bring down the empire he serves. Her political education intensifies as well. Padmé teaches her about resistance movements, about organizing opposition, about the delicate balance between idealism and pragmatism that effective governance requires. Leia absorbs it all like a sponge, already thinking about how she'll use these skills to fight the Empire. The twins' different approaches create friction between them. Luke thinks Leia is too aggressive, too quick to see violence as a solution. Leia thinks Luke is too soft, too willing to forgive the unforgivable. They argue frequently, their disagreements sometimes escalating into shouting matches that leave Padmé exhausted and worried. But underneath the conflict, their bond remains unbreakable. When Luke has nightmares about his father, Leia is there to wake him gently and remind him that he's not alone. When Leia pushes herself too hard in training and collapses from exhaustion, Luke is there to carry her to bed and watch over her. They frustrate each other, challenge each other, sometimes even hurt each other with thoughtless words, but they never stop loving each other. Obi-Wan watches their development with a mixture of pride and concern. Their different approaches to their heritage, their different interpretations of what it means to be a Skywalker, create a balance he hadn't anticipated. Luke's compassion is tempered by Leia's righteous anger. Leia's aggression is softened by Luke's empathy. Together, they're stronger than either would be alone. On their 13th birthday, Obi-Wan presents them each with a gift. For Luke, a focusing crystal he recovered from the ruins of the Jedi Temple. For Leia, a similar crystal from his own collection. It's time, he tells them, for you to construct your own lightsabers. The process takes weeks. Padmé watches in fascination as her children meditate over the crystals, attuning them to their unique Force signatures. She sees Luke's crystal gradually shift from its original blue to a brilliant azure that seems to glow from within. Leia's crystal takes on a deep emerald hue, vibrant and alive. They build their hilts with care, each one reflecting their personality. Luke's is elegant and simple, designed for precision and control. Leia's is more ornate, with elegant curves that don't compromise its functionality. When they finally ignite their blades for the first time, Padmé has to blink back tears. They look so much like their father, standing there with lightsabers in hand, determination on their young faces. But they're also uniquely themselves. Luke with his gentle strength and cautious wisdom, Leia with her fierce conviction and natural leadership. They're not Anakin reborn. They're something new, something better. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Vader's unease continues to grow. That nagging feeling in the Force has become impossible to ignore. It's stronger now, more defined, and it's definitely coming from the direction of Naboo, Padmé's homeworld. The place where he spent the happiest moments of his life before everything went wrong. He tries to dismiss it as coincidence. The Force sometimes echoes with the residue of strong emotions, and he certainly left enough emotional resonance on Naboo to account for odd sensations. But this doesn't feel like a residue. It feels active, alive, and it feels like her. He begins to investigate quietly, using his position and resources to access information about Naboo without alerting his master. He discovers nothing unusual at first. The planet is peaceful, loyal to the Empire, unremarkable in every way. But as he digs deeper, he notices small anomalies. Energy readings consistent with force use in the lake country. Unexplained communications between Naboo and Tatooine. References in old intelligence reports to a widowed woman with twin children who appeared shortly after Padmé's death. Twins. The word hits him like a physical blow. His child, the one he thought died with Padmé, was actually children. Twins. And if these reports are accurate, if his growing suspicion is correct, then they didn't die at all. They've been alive all this time, hidden on Naboo with their mother, his mother, who is also alive. The realization should fill him with joy, but instead, it fills him with a complex mixture of emotions he can barely process. Relief that Padmé survived, that his children exist. Anger at the deception, at years stolen from him. Fear of what this means, of what Palpatine will do if he discovers the truth. And underneath it all, a desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, he hasn't lost everything after all. But he can't act on this knowledge. Not yet. Palpatine is too cunning, too watchful. If Vader shows unusual interest in Naboo, the Emperor will investigate. And if Palpatine discovers that Padmé and the twins exist, he'll either kill them or corrupt them. Vader knows his master well enough to be certain of that, so he buries the knowledge deep, hiding it even from himself when he's in Palpatine's presence. He goes about his duties, hunts the rebels, enforces the Emperor's will, but all the while, he's planning, thinking, trying to figure out how to confirm his suspicions without exposing his family to danger. His opportunity comes sooner than expected. Imperial intelligence detects unusual force signatures on Naboo, multiple users practicing together in what appears to be training exercises. The report crosses Vader's desk, and he realizes with cold dread that his children have become careless. Or perhaps they've simply grown powerful enough that hiding their presence is no longer possible. Palpatine summons him to the throne room. Lord Vader, I have a mission for you. There are reports of force-sensitive individuals on Naboo. Take a battalion and investigate. If you find Jedi, eliminate them. Vader bows, his thoughts racing behind the impassive mask. As you wish, my master. It's a test. He knows it's a test. Palpatine suspects something, and he's sending Vader to see how he'll react. If Vader finds Padmé and the twins and doesn't report them, he'll be revealed as a traitor. If he does report them, Palpatine will kill them, or worse. There's no good outcome here, unless Vader can find a third option. He takes his time preparing for the journey, using the delay to think through every possible scenario. He could warn them, give them time to flee. But where would they go that Palpatine couldn't find them? He could lie, report that the Force signatures were false positives, but Palpatine would send others to verify, and then they'd all be discovered. Or he could do something he hasn't done in years, something he thought impossible. He could choose his family over his master. The journey to Naboo feels both too long and too short. Vader stands on the bridge of his Star Destroyer, watching the planet grow larger in the viewport. From space, it's beautiful. All blue oceans and green continents. White clouds, swirling in atmospheric patterns. It looks exactly as he remembers it, and the memories that flood through him are almost overwhelming. He remembers bringing Padmé here after their wedding, the way she laughed as they ran through the meadows. He remembers lazy afternoons by the lake, her head resting on his shoulder as they talked about their dreams for the future. He remembers making love to her under the stars, feeling more complete than he'd ever felt in his entire life. All of it lost because of his choices. all of it destroyed by his fear and his pride and his weakness. But maybe not entirely lost. Maybe he still has a chance to save something from the wreckage of his life. He doesn't take the full battalion planet side. Instead, he orders most of the troops to remain in orbit while he descends with a single shuttle. His officers question this decision, but one withering look from his mask silences any objections. Lord Vader does not explain himself to subordinates. The shuttle lands in the Lake Country near the coordinates where the Force signatures originated. Vader can feel them now, blazing in the Force like twin suns. His children, strong, so impossibly strong for one so young. They must be in their early teens now, he calculates, old enough to have trained, to have grown into their power. And there, beneath their brilliant presences, he feels a third signature. Fainter, less trained, but unmistakably familiar. Padmé, his wife, alive. The shuttle ramp lowers, and Vader steps onto the soil of Naboo for the first time in over a decade. The late afternoon sun is warm on his armor, the air sweet with the scent of flowers and grass. It's so different from the sterile corridors of the Imperial Palace, from the cold void of space, from the dark side energy that permeates every corner of the Empire. He walks toward the lake house, each step feeling heavier than the last. Part of him wants to run, to rush inside and confirm that they're really there. Another part wants to flee, to escape back to his shuttle and pretend he never found this place. But he forces himself forward, driven by a need stronger than fear or doubt. The house is modest but beautiful, built in the traditional Naboo style, with large windows overlooking the lake. As Vader approaches, he sees movement inside. A figure appears on the terrace, backlit by the setting sunday. Padmé, she's older. He can see that even from a distance. Her face carries lines that weren't there before, marks of stress and grief. Her hair is simple, no longer styled in the elaborate fashions she wore as a senator. But she's still beautiful, still the woman he fell in love with all those years ago. Behind her, two figures emerge, a boy and a girl, teenagers, their faces showing a mixture of his features and Padmé's. Luke and Leia, he knows instinctively, his son and daughter. The children he thought dead for a long moment. No one moves. Vader stands at the edge of the garden, his breathing apparatus the only sound in the sudden stillness. Padmé grips the terrace railing, her knuckles white, her face a mask of complex emotions. The twins flank her protectively, and Vader notices they both have hands near where lightsabers would hang. Then Padmé speaks, and her voice carries across the distance with the same strength he remembers. "Hello, Anakin." The sound of his true name, spoken in her voice, breaks something inside him. His breathing hitches, irregular, and he takes an involuntary step forward before stopping himself. "You're alive." The words come out filtered through the vocabulator, emotionless and mechanical. But he can't help that. His voice is gone, replaced by this machine approximation. All these years, yes, we survived. Your children survived. His gaze shifts to the twins. Luke meets his eyes, and Vader can see fear there, but also curiosity, trying to be brave despite his terror. Leia glares at him with open hostility, her chin raised in defiance. So much of Padmé in that gesture. so much of himself, in the fire in her eyes. My children. The words are painful to say, acknowledging what he's lost, what he could have had. A son and a daughter, Luke and Leia. Padmé's voice is steady now, gaining strength. They know who you are, who you were, what you've become. My master told me I killed you, that I killed them. Your master lied. About many things, I suspect. Vader's hands clench into fists. The Emperor lied, kept his family from him, used their supposed deaths to bind him to the dark side, to make him completely dependent on Palpatine's approval and purpose. The manipulation is so clear now, so obvious, and he feels a rage building that has nothing to do with the dark side. Why? He demands, his voice carrying an edge, even through the mechanical filter. Why hide from me? Because of what you'd become. Padmé's composure finally cracks, years of grief and anger pouring out. You tried to kill me, Anakin. You force-choked me while I was pregnant with our children. Did you expect me to just come back to you after that? I was trying to save you by murdering children, by helping establish a tyrannical empire, by hunting down everyone we once called friends. The accusations hit hard because they're true. Vader has no defense, no justification that doesn't sound hollow even to his own ears. I am not the man you married, he finally says. Anakin Skywalker is dead. If that's true, then why are you here? Padmé takes a step forward, her eyes searching the dark lenses of his mask, as if trying to see through to the man beneath. If you're truly just Vader, just Palpatine's servant, why aren't we already prisoners on our way to Coruscant? The question stops him cold because he doesn't have an answer. Or rather, he has an answer, but admitting it means admitting that Anakin Skywalker isn't as dead as he claims. I will tell the Emperor this was a false lead, he finally says. That the Force presences detected were merely echoes, remnants of the Jedi who once lived here. You will remain hidden, and then what? Obi-Wan's voice comes from behind, and Vader turns to see his former master emerging from the house, lightsaber in hand, but not yet ignited. We just go back to hiding while you continue serving the man who manipulated you? What would you have me do, old friend? Vader's voice carries a bitter edge. I am bound to him. The dark side has claimed me. There is no redemption for what I've done. That's not true, Luke says suddenly, surprising everyone, including himself. Mom told us about the prophecy, about balance in the Force. Maybe this is what it means. Maybe you can still be saved. Foolish boy. Vader looks at his son, this young man who carries so much hope in his eyes. I am too far gone. The light cannot reach me now. Then why haven't you taken us to Palpatine? Leia demands, stepping forward despite Padmé's restraining hand. If you're truly lost to the darkness, if you're truly just his servant, why are you protecting us? Vader has no answer for that either. Because you love us, Padmé says softly, and her voice carries a gentle certainty that cuts through all his defenses. Because somewhere inside that armor, Anakin Skywalker still loves his family. Before Vader can respond, before he can form words to deny or confirm, he feels it. A dark presence, vast and terrible, reaching across space to touch his mind. The Emperor. Palpatine has sensed the deception, has felt through their connection that Vader's loyalties are wavering. He knows, Vader says urgently, all pretense dropping away. My master knows. You're here. He's coming. Then we fight, Leia says immediately, and her hand drops to her lightsaber. You don't understand, Vader says, and for the first time, there's real fear in his voice. His power. You cannot comprehend what he's capable of. Then help us, Luke pleads, stepping forward. Fight with us. Protect your family. Vader stands frozen, caught between two impossible choices. Betray the master who has controlled him for over a decade, or allow his family to be destroyed. His wife, who he turned to the dark side to save. His children, who he thought dead, now alive and strong and looking at him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. In the end, it's not really a choice at all. How could it ever be? Get inside, he says, his voice rough even through the mechanical filter. Prepare whatever defenses you have. When he arrives, he will show no mercy. They have less than an hour. Everyone moves with purpose born of urgency. Obi-Wan and Vader, former brothers now unlikely allies, work together to set up defenses around the lake house. It's surreal, watching them cooperate, their movements falling into old patterns from years of fighting side by side. The twins watch their father work, fascinated despite their fear. Luke notices how efficiently Vader moves, how every action is precise and purposeful. Leia observes his tactical thinking, the way he positions defenses to maximum advantage. They're seeing glimpses of the Jedi general their mother spoke of, the brilliant strategist who won battles against impossible odds. Padmé stands near Vader as he makes final preparations and quietly asks the question that's been haunting her for years. Did you ever think of me in all these years? Vader pauses, his mechanical hands stilling on the equipment he's adjusting. Every day, he finally says, every moment. You were all I had left, even if it was only the memory of you. Even if I thought that memory was all I had left, I never stopped loving you, Anakin. Even after Mustafar, even knowing what you'd become, then you were a fool, perhaps. But it's that foolish love that's brought us to this moment, that's given us one more chance. Before Vader can respond, the sky darkens, not from clouds or weather, but from something else entirely. The Force itself seems to recoil as a massive star destroyer breaks through the atmosphere, blotting out the Sunday's smaller ships pour from its hangar bays like insects, descending toward the lake house. But it's not the ships that terrify Vader. It's the presence aboard the lead shuttle. Cold, malevolent, vast beyond comprehension. The Emperor has come personally, and he's not taking any chances. The shuttle lands in the garden, crushing flowers beneath its landing gear. The ramp lowers with a hydraulic hiss, and Palpatine descends, flanked by his royal guard. But the guards are merely for show. Everyone present can sense that the Emperor needs no protection. His power in the dark side is overwhelming, a black hole that seems to consume all light around it. So, my old friend Anakin still exists, Palpatine says, his voice carrying across the distance with unnatural clarity. How touching. And here I thought we had burned away such weakness. You lied to me, Vader says, stepping forward to face his master. You told me I killed her, that my children died. I told you what you needed to hear to become what you needed to be. Palpatine replies with cold amusement. Sentiment is a weakness, Lord Vader. I was freeing you from it. You were enslaving me. And now what? You'll fight me? Protect your precious family? The Emperor laughs, a sound like breaking glass. You forget. Apprentice, I have taught you everything you know. You cannot defeat me, perhaps not alone, Obi-Wan says, stepping out beside Vader. But he's not alone. Padmé emerges next. No lightsaber but radiating determination, and a strength that has nothing to do with the Force, and everything to do with a mother's love. And neither are we, Luke and Leia say together, their voices harmonizing in a way that sends a ripple through the Force. They stand side by side, lightsabers ignited, blue and green blades, casting light in the growing darkness. Palpatine's eyes narrow as he studies the twins, and a cruel smile spreads across his withered face. How delightful. Fresh young minds to corrupt. Tell me, children, has your father told you of the dark side's power? Has he shown you what you could become? We know exactly what the dark side creates, Leia says coldly. We're looking at it, such spirit. You would have made an excellent Sith. I'd rather die. Palpatine's smile widens. That can be arranged. Lightning erupts from the Emperor's fingers, a torrent of dark side energy aimed directly at the twins. But Vader moves, his hand raised, absorbing the attack with the Force. Pain shoots through his cybernetic systems, circuits overloading. But he holds firm. Run, he shouts to his family. We're not leaving you, Luke yells back. And so the battle begins. Obi-Wan engages Palpatine directly, his blue saber meeting the Emperor's red blade in a shower of sparks. They're evenly matched for the moment, but Obi-Wan knows he can't hold out forever. Palpatine is too strong, too versed in the dark side. Every strike drains energy. Obi-Wan can't afford to lose. Vader fights through the pain, using the Force to throw debris at the stormtroopers advancing on the house. His power is immense, fueled now not just by the dark side but by something else. Desperation. Love. The primal need to protect his family. Objects fly through the air like missiles. Trees are uprooted. The ground itself cracks and heaves under the assault. Luke and Leia stand together, and something remarkable happens. Their Force bond, already strong, crystallizes into something more. They move in perfect synchronization, one defending while the other attacks, their powers flowing through each other and amplifying. When Luke reaches out to push back an attacker, Leia's power flows through him, doubling his strength. When Leia creates a barrier, Luke reinforces it, making it impenetrable. Padmé, though not trained in combat, uses her mind as her weapon. She coordinates their efforts, directs the twins, warns Vader of threats he can't see through the chaos. She's the heart of their defense, the reason they're fighting. And her presence gives them all strength they didn't know they possessed. But Palpatine is not called the most powerful Sith Lord in 1,000 years without reason. He duels Obi-Wan with contemptuous ease, while simultaneously assaulting Vader through the Force, tearing at his mind, reminding him of every failure, every sin, every moment of weakness. You cannot win, Anakin. The Emperor's voice echoes directly into Vader's mind. You are weak. You have always been weak. That is why you needed me. That is why you will always need me. Vader stumbles under the mental assault, his concentration wavering. The defense he directed against the advancing stormtroopers falters, allowing several to slip through. They open fire on the lake house, blaster bolts tearing through walls and windows. Palpatine takes advantage, breaking off from Obi-Wan to focus his full attention on his former apprentice. Lightning pours from his hands, not just force lightning, but something more terrible, more concentrated. The dark side energy that kept Vader alive now becomes a weapon against him, overloading his systems, frying circuits, burning flesh that has already been burned too many times. Vader falls to his knees, his breathing ragged and irregular. Smoke rises from joints in his armor. Warning lights flash in his helmet display. His life support systems are failing. Without intervention, he has minutes, at most, before the armor that keeps him alive becomes his coffin. "Father!" Luke cries out, moving toward him instinctively. "No, stay back." Vader manages to force out the words even as pain consumes him. "Protect your mother." But Luke doesn't listen. The young Jedi rushes forward, putting himself between Palpatine and Vader, his lightsaber raised in a defensive position. The Emperor regards him with interest, like a scientist examining a fascinating specimen. "So eager to die for the father who abandoned you?" "He didn't abandon us," Luke says, his voice steady despite his fear. "You took him from us. You manipulated him, corrupted him, lied to him. But he's still in there. I can feel it." "Foolish boy," Palpatine says. And then he attacks. The assault is fierce and brutal, far beyond anything Luke has trained for. He's only 13, has only been studying for a few years, and Palpatine has centuries of dark knowledge at his disposal. Within moments, Luke is overwhelmed, knocked to the ground, his lightsaber flying from his hand. The Emperor raises his hand to deliver the killing blow, but Leia is there, her green blade intercepting the lightning. She stands over her brother, protecting him, her face set in grim determination that reminds everyone of both her parents at their most fierce. "You'll have to go through me first," she says. "With pleasure," Palpatine replies, but before he can attack, Padmé steps forward. She has no weapon, no force powers to speak of, but she has something else. Her voice, the voice that once moved the Senate, that inspired millions, that spoke truth to power and made even the mighty pause. "Anakin," she says, and her husband's true name cuts through the pain and darkness like a blade. "Look at them. Look at our children. See what we created together. See what you're fighting for." Vader raises his head, his mask turning toward his children. Leia, fierce and brave, standing over her fallen brother like an avenging angel. Luke, trying to get up despite his injuries, still trying to fight, still trying to protect his children. Beautiful and strong and good. Everything he could have been. Everything he lost. Something breaks inside Darth Vader. Not the armor, though that too is failing. Something deeper, more fundamental. The chains that Palpatine wrapped around his soul. The lies that kept him bound to the darkness. The carefully constructed prison of guilt and self-loathing that made him believe he deserved this fate. All of it shatters in a moment of perfect clarity. Anakin Skywalker remembers who he was. More than that, he remembers who he could still be. He rises, his movements slow and painful but inexorable. Warning klaxons scream in his helmet. His HUD flashes, critical system failures. His organic heart, weakened by years of stress and dark side corruption, struggles to maintain rhythm. But none of that matters. His family needs him. His children need him. And for the first time in over a decade, Anakin Skywalker knows exactly what he has to do. Palpatine senses the change and turns to face him, surprise flickering across his features for the first time in years. "No, this is not possible." "Everything is possible," Vader says, and his voice, though still filtered through the mask, sounds different. Stronger, more like Anakin than Vader. When you have something worth fighting for. He attacks, not with the cold precision of Vader, but with the passionate fury of Anakin Skywalker. His blade moves in forms he hasn't used in years. Techniques Obi-Wan taught him. Moves that feel like coming home. Each strike is perfectly placed, driven by muscle memory from years of Jedi training that the dark side never fully erased. Palpatine parries, but he's caught off guard by this transformation. He'd spent years molding Vader into his perfect weapon, carefully suppressing any trace of Anakin Skywalker. The fact that his apprentice can still access that part of himself, can still fight as a Jedi, throws off his rhythm. Obi-Wan joins the attack from the other side. And now it's Palpatine who's on the defensive. The Emperor snarls, unleashing wave after wave of Force lightning. But Vader absorbs it, channeling it through his failing systems to protect the others. Each absorption brings him closer to death. But he doesn't care. Not anymore. Luke and Leia recover and add their power to the fight. Together, the four of them create a web of light side energy that begins to push back against Palpatine's darkness. The twins' bond creates a resonance in the Force, a harmony that amplifies everyone's abilities. It's like nothing any of them have experienced before. Impossible! Palpatine screams, his composure finally cracking. "You cannot defeat me. I am the dark side incarnate." "You're a sad old man," Leia says, her voice cold and clear, "who manipulated my father's love and fear for your own gain. And now that manipulation has ended," Luke adds, helping his father to his feet, despite Anakin's protests. Together, the family advances. Anakin in the center, his children at his sides, his wife behind them, and his old master and brother flanking them all. They move as one, their powers in perfect synchronization. And for the first time in decades, the light side pushes back the darkness with overwhelming force. Palpatine realizes too late that he's made a critical error. He'd assumed Anakin's love for his family was a weakness to be exploited. But love isn't weakness. It's the strongest power in the universe. And facing a family united by love, fighting to protect each other, even the Emperor's vast power isn't enough. The Dark Lord tries to flee, gathering the Force around himself to teleport away. But Anakin won't let him escape. He reaches out through the Force, holding Palpatine in place with strength born from desperation and love, and speaks words he never thought he'd say again. "For Padmé, for my children, for everyone you've hurt, for the man you corrupted, for all the years you stole from us. This ends now." Palpatine unleashes everything he has, a maelstrom of dark side energy that tears at the very fabric of reality. The ground cracks open, trees are torn from their roots. The lake itself begins to boil from the sheer power being unleashed. It's like standing in the heart of a tornado made of malevolent energy. But against this onslaught stands a family united. Luke and Leia raise their hands together, their powers flowing as one. Obi-Wan channels the living force through them, amplifying their natural abilities far beyond what they could achieve alone. Padmé, though not force-sensitive in the traditional sense, provides something equally important. Her love, her unwavering belief in her family, creates an anchor that keeps them grounded, focused, prevents them from being swept away by the storm. And Anakin, standing at the center of it all, finally understands what the prophecy meant. Balance is not about destroying the darkness or embracing it completely. It's about acknowledging both, accepting both, and choosing the light anyway. His anger, his fear, his love, all of it can coexist. All of it can be used for good. The dark side gave him power, but the light side gives him purpose. He draws on everything. The power of the dark side he mastered over years as Vader. The teachings of the light side from his youth as a Jedi. And something new, something that comes from the bond with his family. A power that transcends both light and dark, that exists in the space between, in the balance he was always meant to bring. The barrier between them and Palpatine begins to glow, brighter and brighter, until the light becomes almost blinding. The Emperor screams, his form beginning to waver under the assault. He's powerful, perhaps the most powerful Sith who ever lived. But he's alone, and against a family fighting together, united by love and purpose. Even he cannot stand. The light consumes him, not destroying him outright in the way dark side energy destroys, but forcing the darkness from him, burning away the corruption like fire purging disease. The process takes minutes that feel like hours, the Emperor fighting every second. But eventually, his strength fails. The dark side energy that sustained him for decades dissipates, leaving behind only a withered old man, powerless and defeated. Palpatine falls to his knees, gasping, his yellow eyes fading back to their natural color. He looks up at Anakin with an expression of pure hatred, mixed with disbelief. How? After everything I gave you, everything I taught you, how could you betray me? You gave me nothing but lies and pain, Anakin says, his lightsaber still ignited, but held in a non-threatening position. You taught me to hate, to fear, to embrace darkness. But my family taught me something more important. They taught me that love is stronger than fear, that redemption is possible, that even the fallen can rise again. He deactivates his lightsaber. I won't kill an unarmed man. Not anymore. Let him stand trial for his crimes. Let the galaxy see what he truly is. Palpatine laughs bitterly. You fool. Do you think this is over? The Empire will never accept this. They will hunt you to the ends of the galaxy. Then let them come, Leia says, standing beside her father. We're not hiding anymore. But even as they secure Palpatine with force-suppressing restraints that Obi-Wan produces from his robes, even as they begin to breathe easier thinking the battle is won, Anakin feels it. His armor is failing. The damage from absorbing Palpatine's lightning has been catastrophic. Systems are shutting down one by one, and his organic body, weakened by years of dependency on the life support, cannot sustain itself without mechanical aid. He has minutes, perhaps less. Anakin, Padmé says, rushing to his side. She can see the warning lights flashing on his chest panel, can hear the increasingly irregular rhythm of his breathing. No, not now. Not when we finally have you back. Padmé, he says, his voice already weakening. I need you to do something for me. Anything. The mask. I want to see you. Really see you. And I want my children to see me. Not Vader. Me. Luke and Leia move to their father's sides without hesitation. Their hands shake as they reach for the helmet seals. But they're determined. The locks disengage with a hiss of escaping pressure. And carefully, reverently, they lift the mask away. The face beneath is a ruin, just as it was on Mustafar. Scarred, pale, barely human after years of burns and dark side corruption. But the eyes are Anakin's. Blue and clear and full of the man he once was, the man he's finally become again. Padmé touches his face gently, tears streaming down her cheeks. There you are. There's my Anakin. I'm sorry, he says. And the words are his own now, no longer filtered through Vader's mask. For everything, for Mustafar, for the years you spent in hiding, for not being there for our children. You're here now, Luke says, gripping his father's hand. His own hand is mechanical, a prosthetic he received after a training accident. And the irony isn't lost on either of them. That's what matters. We don't have much time, Anakin says, looking at his children, his son and daughter. So strong, so full of potential. There's so much I want to tell you. So much I wish I could teach you. Then teach us now, Leia says, her voice breaking despite her attempt to stay strong. Please, we just found you. We can't lose you already. Listen to me, both of you. Anakin's breathing is becoming more labored, each word an effort. The Force is not just about power, it's about connection, about love. I forgot that, and it cost me everything. Don't make my mistakes. We won't, Luke promises. You have each other. Anakin looks from one child to the other. Never forget how precious that is. Together, you're stronger than any Sith, any Emperor. Together, you can bring real balance to the Force. What about you? Leia asks, tears finally falling despite her efforts to be strong. Can't we save you? There has to be something we can do. Obi-Wan kneels beside them, his face heavy with grief, but also acceptance. The damage is too extensive, he says quietly. Even if we could get him to a medical facility, the life support systems are integrated too deeply into what remains of his body. Without the armor, he can't survive. Then we'll get new armor, Padmé says frantically. We'll find a way. But Anakin shakes his head, a peaceful expression on his ruined face. No, this is how it should be. I've spent 20 years as a prisoner in that armor, as a slave to the dark side. If these are my last moments, I want to spend them free, with my family. He reaches up with his mechanical hand, touching Padmé's face one last time. I never stopped loving you. Even in my darkest moments, you were the light I couldn't reach. Thank you for never giving up on me. I never could, Padmé says, holding his hand against her cheek. And I never will. Anakin turns to Obi-Wan, and the two men who were once brothers lock eyes. I'm sorry, old friend, for everything I put you through, for the pain I caused. I'm sorry too, Obi-Wan says, his voice thick with emotion. I should have been there for you when you needed me most. I should have seen the darkness growing. You tried to warn me. I didn't listen. Anakin manages a weak smile. But you saved my family. You kept them safe when I couldn't. For that, I will be eternally grateful. He looks back at his children one final time. Teach them, he tells Obi-Wan, both of them, Luke and Leia. Help them become the Jedi I never could be. Better than the old order. Wiser, more balanced. I will. I promise, Obi-Wan says, placing a hand on Anakin's shoulder. Anakin's breathing is becoming more irregular now, his chest rising and falling with increasing difficulty. Luke and Leia move closer, each taking one of his hands. They can feel him fading, his presence in the Force dimming like a candle running out of wax. I'm proud of you, he tells them, looking at each child in turn. Both of you. You're everything I hoped you would be. Everything I should have been. We'll make you proud, Luke says through his tears. We'll finish what you started. We'll bring balance to the Force. And we'll remember you, Leia adds, her fierce composure finally breaking completely. Not as Vader, as Anakin Skywalker, our father, the hero you were meant to be. A smile crosses Anakin's ravaged features, genuine and peaceful. That's all I could ask for. He looks at each of them in turn one last time. His wife, his children, his brother, his family. The people he fought for, killed for, nearly destroyed the galaxy for. And in the end, the people who saved him from himself. Padmé, he says softly, his voice barely a whisper now. Tell me about Naboo. Tell me about the lake house, about the life we could have had. And so Padmé talks, her voice gentle and soothing despite her tears. She paints a picture of the life they were denied, a life of peace and love, of raising their children together in the beautiful lake country, of teaching Luke to pilot across the open skies, of watching Leia grow into the leader she was born to be, of growing old together, watching their grandchildren play in the same meadows where they once ran together. Luke and Leia listen too, imagining the father they could have known, the family they could have been. And as Padmé speaks, they feel their father's presence through the Force. Not the dark, oppressive weight of Vader, but something lighter, something free. I love you, Anakin whispers, his last words meant for all of them, always. His eyes close peacefully. His chest rises one final time and then falls still. The Force around him seems to shimmer, and then something remarkable happens. His body doesn't simply die. It begins to fade, dissolving into light, becoming one with the Force. Not the violent disappearance of someone consumed by the dark side, but the gentle passing of a Jedi returning to the Force. The armor that imprisoned him for so long falls empty to the ground. Pieces of machinery that once sustained life, now just scrap metal. But Anakin Skywalker himself has transcended his physical form, his spirit, free at last. Padmé holds the empty armor as her children embrace her from either side. They can all feel him still, his presence in the Force transformed, no longer bound by pain or darkness or the physical limitations of his ruined body. He's at peace. Finally, truly at peace. Obi-Wan closes his eyes, reaching out through the Force, and feels Anakin's spirit. The prophecy is fulfilled at last. balance has been restored, not through the destruction of the Sith, but through the redemption of the Chosen One, through love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond of family. The days that follow are chaotic. News of Palpatine's defeat spreads across the galaxy like wildfire. The revelation that the Emperor was a Sith Lord, that he manipulated both sides of the Clone Wars, that his entire rise to power was built on lies and dark side manipulation, sends shockwaves through every system. Without their Emperor, and without Vader to enforce their will, the Imperial military fractures. Some commanders try to maintain control, declaring themselves warlords in their own territories. Others defect immediately, sickened by the revelation of who they'd really been serving. Still others simply abandon their posts, leaving their star destroyers and legions to fend for themselves. Padmé emerges from hiding, no longer a dead senator, but a symbol of everything the Empire destroyed, and everything the galaxy could be again. She reveals the truth about Palpatine's rise to power, about the manipulation and lies that built the Empire, about the clone inhibitor chips and the conspiracy that destroyed the Jedi Order. The evidence is overwhelming, and the galaxy listens. Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, who have been quietly building the rebellion for years, find their ranks swelling overnight. Worlds that feared Imperial reprisal now openly declare their support for the restoration of the Republic. The Empire, built on fear and the dark side, crumbles without its foundation. But the transition is far from peaceful. There are those who benefited from the Empire, who grew wealthy and powerful under its rule. And they don't give up easily. There are worlds so indoctrinated, they refuse to believe Palpatine was evil. There are Imperial officers who continue fighting out of blind loyalty or simple momentum. Through it all, Padmé works tirelessly to restore democracy. She's older now. The years of hiding and the trauma of losing. Anakin again, showing in the lines on her face. But her passion for justice burns as bright as ever. She becomes the voice of the new Republic, advocating for peace, for reconciliation, for learning from the mistakes of the past. Luke and Leia stand at her side, but their paths diverge, as Anakin predicted they would. Luke, compassionate and idealistic, focuses on rebuilding the Jedi Order, but not the old order, with its strict rules and emotional suppression. A new order, one that understands that emotions aren't the enemy, that love, family, and connection make Jedi stronger, not weaker. He gathers other Force sensitives, those who survived Palpatine's purge and those newly discovered. He teaches them about balance, about using their emotions rather than suppressing them, about the power that comes from connection rather than isolation. His father's fall and redemption becomes the central lesson of his teaching, that even the most powerful Jedi can fall if they lose sight of what's important, but that redemption is always possible for those willing to seek it. Leia, meanwhile, throws herself into politics like her mother before her. She's a natural leader, charismatic and driven, with an uncanny ability to read people that comes from her Force sensitivity, even if she doesn't use it as overtly as Luke. She works alongside Padmé to rebuild the Senate, to create a government that truly serves the people rather than the other way around. But she never abandons her Jedi training. Obi-Wan continues to teach her when his duties allow, and she becomes something unique in galactic history. A Jedi senator equally comfortable with a lightsaber or a legislative amendment. She represents the future Anakin dreamed of, a galaxy where Force users don't hide in temples, but engage with the world, using their gifts to serve others. The twins work together, each in their own way, to fulfill their father's last wish. They bring balance. Luke's spiritual approach is tempered by Leia's pragmatism. Leia's hardline stance against Imperial remnants is softened by Luke's compassion and willingness to offer redemption to those who genuinely seek it. Together, they're unstoppable. Obi-Wan watches them grow into their roles with pride tinged with bittersweetness. He sees so much of Anakin in them. Luke has his father's heroism, his capacity for love, his willingness to see the good in everyone. Leia has his determination, his refusal to accept injustice, his fierce protectiveness of those he loves. But they also have something Anakin never had until the very end. They have each other. The bond between them, forged in the womb and strengthened through years of growing up together, remains unbreakable. When one falters, the other is there to provide support. When one succeeds, the other celebrates without jealousy or envy. They are balance incarnate, and the galaxy is better for it. Years pass. The New Republic is far from perfect, still struggling with corruption and inefficiency, and the lingering trauma of the Empire's rule. But it's better than what came before. It's democratic, accountable, and most importantly, it gives people hope. Padmé eventually retires from active politics, her health beginning to fail after decades of tireless work. She returns to Naboo, to the lake house where she raised her children, where she said goodbye to Anakin. The place holds painful memories, but also beautiful ones. It's where her family came together, where love proved stronger than darkness, where the prophecy was finally fulfilled. Luke visits often, bringing news of the new Jedi Order and the students he's training. He's found love with Mara Jade, a former Imperial agent who found redemption much like Anakin did, and they have a son. Little Ben, named in honor of Obi-Wan, shows incredible promise in the Force. He's gentle like his father, but with a mischievous streak that keeps everyone on their toes. Leia comes when her Senate duties allow, often with her husband Han Solo in tow. The former smuggler turned general still doesn't quite understand politics or the Force. But he loves Leia with a devotion that reminds Padmé of Anakin at his best. They have 3 children, Jaina and Jason, fraternal twins who are both strong in the Force, and little Anakin, named for the grandfather who gave everything to save his family. The Skywalker legacy continues, no longer a legacy of darkness and tragedy, but one of hope and redemption. Padmé watches her grandchildren play in the same gardens where Luke and Leia learned to use the Force, and her heart fills with a joy she thought she'd never feel again. One evening, as the sun sets over the lake in brilliant oranges and purples, Padmé sits on the terrace where she once confronted Darth Vader. Luke and Leia are with her, along with their families. The children chase each other through the garden, their laughter echoing across the water, occasionally using the Force to float toys or play harmless pranks on each other. "Do you think he can see this?" Luke asks quietly, looking up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "Do you think Dad knows what we've built?" Padmé smiles, that same gentle smile she gave Anakin so many years ago. "I know he does. Sometimes, when the Force is quiet, I can feel him, proud, at peace, watching over us. I feel him too, Leia admits, her usual fierce demeanor softening, especially when I'm making difficult decisions. It's like he's there, guiding me, helping me choose the light over the easy path. He's always with us, Luke says, putting his arms around his mother and sister. In the Force, in our memories, in everything we do to make the galaxy better. That's what he wanted, Padmé says, tears glistening in her eyes but her voice strong. Not for us to mourn him forever, but to live, to be the light he couldn't be for so long. And we are, Leia says firmly, watching her daughter Jaina teaching little Ben a Force technique. Every day, we're making his sacrifice mean something. They sit in comfortable silence, watching the children play, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. And for just a moment, Padmé feels it, a presence in the Force, warm and familiar and filled with love. Anakin's presence, no longer twisted by darkness or bound by pain, radiating pure joy and pride. She closes her eyes and reaches out through the Force, using the skills Obi-Wan taught her over the years. And she feels him reach back, a gentle caress across her consciousness that feels like coming home after a long journey. I kept them safe, she whispers, knowing somehow that he can hear her, just like you asked. They're amazing, Anakin. They're everything we dreamed they would be. The presence pulses with warmth, with gratitude, with love that transcends death and darkness, and the barriers between worlds. And though no words are spoken aloud, Padmé understands. Anakin is proud. Anakin is at peace. And, most importantly, Anakin is free. As the stars come out one by one, transforming the sky into a tapestry of light, the Skywalker family sits together, 3 generations, bound by love, by loss, by the unbreakable connection of family. They've faced the darkest evil the galaxy has known and emerged into the light. They've lost and found and lost again. But through it all, they've endured, because that's what the Skywalkers do. They endure, they fight, they love, and they bring balance to the Force, not through prophecy or power, but through the simple act of choosing each other every day, no matter what. Padmé looks at her children, at their children, at the legacy she and Anakin created, despite everything that tried to tear them apart. She thinks about the scared young girl who once ruled a planet, the idealistic senator who fought for peace, the desperate wife who watched her husband fall to darkness, the mother who raised her children in hiding. All the versions of herself that led to this moment, and she knows, with absolute certainty, that they won, not against the Empire, not against the Sith, but against the darkness itself. They proved that love is stronger than fear, that family is stronger than power, that the light will always find a way to shine through even the deepest shadows. Little Anakin Solo, Leia's youngest, runs up to the terrace, his face flushed with excitement. "Grandma! Grandma! Did you see? I made my toy speeder float all by myself." Padmé scoops him up, holding him close, breathing in the scent of his hair and feeling the bright spark of his presence in the Force. "I saw, darling. You're getting so strong. Your grandfather would be so proud of you." "Tell me about Grandfather Anakin again," the boy says, settling into her lap. The children never tire of hearing stories about the man who saved the galaxy. And so, Padmé tells him. Not the sanitized version she told Luke and Leia when they were young, and not the full horror of his darkest moments, but the truth about a slave boy who became a Jedi, a hero who became a villain, a fallen man who found redemption through love, about mistakes made and prices paid, and the long, difficult journey back to the light. The other children gather around to listen. Even though they've heard the stories countless times, they never tire of learning about their grandfather, about the man who proved that no one is beyond saving, that redemption is always possible for those willing to seek it. As Padmé speaks, the Force seems to shimmer around them. Luke and Leia feel it too, a presence watching over them with boundless love. Not just Anakin, but others as well. Obi-Wan, who passed peacefully in his sleep years ago. Yoda, who became one with the Force after training Luke in the ancient ways. Qui-Gon, whose guidance from beyond set so many events in motion, all of them watching, all of them proud, all of them at peace. The story ends, as it always does, with Anakin's redemption and sacrifice, with a family reunited, if only for a few precious moments, with love proving stronger than darkness. The children ask their usual questions, and Padmé answers with the patience born of years of practice. Will we see Grandfather Anakin someday? Young Ben asks. When you become one with the Force, you'll be with him, Luke explains gently. But until then, he's always watching over you, guiding you, loving you. Like an invisible friend? Jaina asks. Something like that, Leia says, ruffling her daughter's hair. He's part of the Force now, and the Force is part of all of us. So, in a way, he's with us always. The children accept this with the easy faith of youth and run off to continue their games, leaving the adults alone again. The sun has fully set now, and the first stars are bright in the darkening sky. Naboo's moon rises over the lake, casting silver light across the water. It's perfect, Luke says softly. Dad would have loved this. All of us, together, at peace, building something better. He did love it, Padmé says with certainty. I felt him here tonight. Felt his joy. He's finally free. And he's so proud of what you've both become. We couldn't have done it without you, Leia says, taking her mother's hand. You kept us safe, raised us right, taught us to be strong but compassionate. Everything good we've done started with you. No, Padmé says, squeezing both her children's hands. Everything good started with love. The love your father and I shared. The love you two have for each other. The love we all have for this family. That's what saved us. That's what saved Anakin. And that's what will keep saving the galaxy, one generation at a time. They sit together as darkness fully claims the sky, watching the stars, feeling the Force flowing around them, knowing that somewhere in that vast cosmic energy, Anakin Skywalker watches over them with love and pride. The prophecy spoke of one who would bring balance to the Force. And he did, in the end. Not through power or destiny or some grand cosmic plan, but through the simple act of loving his family more than he loved the darkness, of choosing them over everything else, even at the cost of his own life. Balance came not from a chosen one standing alone, but from a family standing together, from a mother's unwavering love, from children who refused to give up on their father, from a brother who never stopped believing in redemption, from love proving, once and for all, that it's the most powerful force in the universe. And as the Skywalker family sits together under the stars of Naboo, surrounded by love and light and hope, the Force itself seems to sing with joy. Because this is how the story was always meant to end. Not with tragedy and darkness and loss, but with love and light and life, with a family whole at last, with balance restored, with hope for the future burning bright. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Their powers flowing through each other and amplifying. When Luke reaches out to push back an attacker, Leia's power